Hi, everyone, and welcome to May's edition of Fired Up, the Art Alliance for Contemporary Glass educational program. The Art Alliance is a leading resource for glass collectors, artists, gallerists, museum personnel, educators, and others on all things related to glass art. So if you go to our website, you can see all of the things that we do, as well as a lot of information about upcoming exhibitions and things related to glass. We're a great organization and community for conversation. And in addition to our First Friday Fired Ups, which are free and open to the public, we also have meetups every Friday that are for members only on a number of topics related to glass art. So if you're interested in attending those, please visit our website and consider joining. And we'd love to see you every week on Friday. And those are also available on YouTube exclusively for members only. And the Fired Ups are available on our public YouTube channel, which at some point we'll put in the chat here for you. Today we have with us such an incredible artist, Anthony Amoako-Attah from Ghana. He is really someone that has been incredibly innovative in the field of glass and also tells a very personal journey with his work. He got his degree from the University of Sunderland, and I believe is now a PhD candidate. He just had a solo show at Heller Gallery in New York, and also had a piece of his recently acquired, I believe, by the Speed Museum as well. So he has really been making wonderful strides and is incredibly talented. So we're just grateful to have him with us here today. So Anthony, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, we can get started with the program. And if anyone has questions as we go along, please put them in the chat and we will get to them when we are able. So you are still muted, Anthony. So I'm going to see if I can unmute you over here.
Yes.
Okay, great.
I could share my screen. Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Amoako-Attah, a PhD researcher at the University of Sunderland, UK. Yeah. Today, I'll be talking about my journey through the fabric, which I would say is about. Normally, I used to say that in Ghana, or in Ghana, it's very hard. As my grandmother used to say, it's very hard for you to find history in books. But my grandmother will be able to tell you what happened during the 1940s, 50s through a fabric. So today's presentation is about my journey through the fabric. And with the fabric, I'm talking about glass. So on the first, I'll be talking about my life in Ghana, the clan which I belong to, my education, my experiences, and life in the UK. So life in Ghana, I'll say I'm born into a family of 8. I have 4 sisters, a brother, and my parents. Growing up as a kid, I could still remember that, in school, they used to ask us, when you grow up, what do you like to be? And one of the answers that I used to give was, I would like to be a teacher. I would like to teach. So growing up, it's like everything was like that, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a teacher. I thought, saying I want to be a teacher just like that, but I didn't know that there was a kind of a process that you need to go through before you become a teacher. And also I'll be talking about my clan in relation to my artwork. So in Ghana, I come from a clan called the Akan. And within the Akan, we have the Ashantis. So I'll stress more on the Ashantis within my presentation. And when it comes to my education, I would say through my education, I have studied art, from my primary, junior, secondary, through my university. I did a bit of science and a bit of art. So I'll talk more about that one, and also my experiences in life, and then my experiences in UK as well. And most of my influences now, I believe life is not a straight line. I believe life is full of chances. And within what I've passed through, as I said, life experience in England, I've seen that, as I said, as a kid, I thought, being a teacher, it's just like, oh, you go to school, not knowing that there are so many processes. So I feel like life is not a straight line. If you want to achieve something, there's a kind of ups and downs, but with determination and with plan, you'll be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve. So I feel like life is full of so many chances. And my work talks about migration, moving from Ghana to England and also all over to US and other places that I've been to, and how it has influenced in my work of art. And also dislocation, about coming from Ghana to England, how I felt with the culture over here. So I'll be talking more about that one as well, the integration, about how I was able to integrate myself within the English culture. And coming from Ghana or coming from the Ashanti clan or the Ashantis, we believe in symbols. Symbols are part of us. We communicate with symbols as well as with patterns. So I'll be talking about more about symbols, which is Adinkra symbols, known to the Ashanti people or the Akan people. And I'll be talking about Kente as well, the Kente cloth, and then the Kente patterns as well. Yeah. So my first slide is about, I call it the basket money. The basket money talks about, when I was in Ghana, during my undergraduate, I did ceramics. So that's my basic, coming from Ghana. I did a bit of ceramics, a bit of metals, a bit of textiles for my undergraduate. So there was a, migrating from my first year to my third year, they proposed that we were going to start glass, so when we were doing our foundation year, we used to laugh at our fellow colleagues that, those studying ceramics were going to pursue glass. So that was when it's like everybody was laughing about other colleagues not pursuing glass. But what happened was, when we finished university, we never had the glass program. So that was one of the reasons why I moved to England to pursue glass. So this work talks about how do you store your treasure, So it's a ceramic piece combined with rope telling about how do you store your money, how do you preserve your money. So this is a ceramic piece. And in Ghana, we didn't have much glazes. So most of our pieces are mostly white, with terracotta, painted with white slabs and unglaze, that kind of effect. And this is another piece that I made in Ghana, from my basis as a ceramist. So this one is motherhood. How do, mothers protect their kids, care for them? So these are, let me say, some of the ceramic pieces I made back home. So after school, I told one of my lecturers that I wanted to go and pursue glass, So I said through, that's where the journey started. I said through the online and every place to check where I could pursue my dreams, glass. So I looked through online and then I saw University of Sunderland, England. So with that, I just took off, told my parents that this is the school that I found. I wanted to go and pursue, glass. Yeah. Everybody was shocked because coming from, Ghana, if anybody wants to go outside them, especially to learn, like you do a master's program, mostly it's in other courses, not really art. So when I told my dad that I wanted to go and do glass, he was so shocked, not even like continuation of ceramics, but moving from ceramics to glass. But I was able to explain to him that, this is what I want, I wanted to understand this material and how I'll be able to teach. So from there, I moved to England. So this piece that you see over here is the first piece that I made in glass. And there is a funny story behind this thing. When I came in, it was during winter. It was around October time where the weather was so cold, and coming from a hot climate, to a cold climate, everything was just like, wow. So my first day, I went to uni. It was bright and sunny. I came a bit late, so my supervisor then had already given them an assignment about printmaking. So my colleagues are, they have already started printing. So when I went there, I made this piece. And so if you look at the pictures and everything around, it's still talking about how I used to depict or how I used to portray my ceramic pieces. I was trying to understand glass, so with that, I try to infuse what I normally do or what I used to do in ceramics in glass. So this was the first piece that I made when I started with glass. That was 2015, and it's about 30 centimeters high. Yeah. So from there, the next piece is titled Transition 1. Transition 1 talks about myself. When I went to University of Sunderland, or when I started, I was the first Black person to come from Africa to come and study glass over there. So the funny thing is, when I enter the university or the department, it's like, hey, everybody knows that I'm in. And when I'm out, everybody knows that I'm out. And with the lab that I had for the material, I wanted to understand it. So classes start from 9, or they open the studio from 9 to 9. So it's like every day from 9 to 9, I was in the studio trying to understand the material and how I'll be able to use to portray myself or to portray my culture. So this piece, Transition 1, talks about myself, So the black glass talks about myself. I try to use the black glass to represent myself, the white background to represent the environment in which I find myself and the knowledge that I'm tapping. So the patterns and the symbols on this piece talks about my journey of life that I've been through. So with each part, it talks about what I've been through. And then in it, I use gold paint to paint all over the pattern that I've created. I'm coming from a small town in Ghana called Obuasi, where we do mine gold. So I was trying to portray myself within a new culture, within a new environment. So this piece talks about myself. As I said, as a kid, my dream is to become a teacher. But I felt like life was just a straight line, not knowing that, for me to become who I want, I need to go through that process in order for me to achieve. So this piece was talking about myself within a different environment and how I'm tapping that knowledge to produce a work of art. So this work forms part of my master's degree show. So from there, I went back home, with the idea of going to teach in Ghana. But when I went there, the university has changed all the policies that you need to have a PhD. So from there, I came back to England to continue my PhD. So with this piece, I call it the beginning. And with my PhD, the research topic is how to make glass look like a woven fabric, paying respect to my culture and my identity. Before I started the PhD, I was researching about what has been done before in relation to PhD theses. And I read one PhD thesis written by a lady from China. They were the first group to start the PhD in England. So she said within her 10 years of teaching in China, she has realized that what she learned from England, or the influences that she got from England, that's what she has been teaching the Chinese for the past 10 years. So it's a kind of a contemporary European style that he has been teaching the Chinese for the past 10 years. So after reading that, I realized that no, if I want to go back to Ghana after school or to teach, how would I be able to teach my people for them to understand? So idea was, okay, then how do I incorporate my culture? Because my people understand the culture in which they are. So how do I incorporate my culture, my identity within a material? Now, during my master's, I used to call glass as a Western material. So I was like, how do I incorporate myself within this new material? So this piece talks about, I was trying to make glass look like a woven fabric. So I started with so many kind of forms, so many kind of techniques in order to replicate or represent my idea within the glass. So this piece is the first piece that I made about trying to make glass looks like a woven fabric. So it's about 50 centimeters wide, and it's enamel printing, screen printing, water jet, and also use wires to stitch it. So it's a bit flexible. So from there, I saw one colleague, she was doing powder printing. So I did ask her if she could teach me about how to do it. But she seen my enamel printing, she told me that, oh, if I could continue with with enamel printing. I went home, did some computer designs, and I came back to try with the powder printing. And when it came out, I showed it to my supervisor called Jeff, and he was so amazed. And then we developed it, and then from there, I made my first powder printed glass fabric. So from there, I made this piece, which I call it myself. Myself talks about myself, and my integration into a new medium, understanding glass. So this piece is my first powder printing that I made, where it talks about myself and my journey and everything. So from there, I continue to develop the piece as well. So from there, I made this piece, which I titled it Transition 2. Transition 2 talks about the journey within the fabric or the journey within glass. So if you look at the movement of the piece, anytime you see a fold in my work, it talks about a twist or a change in life. So with the first piece talks about how I was able to integrate myself within the new material, which is glass, powder, and also as the integration, as the line or as the pattern or as the glass begins to move, it talks about how I've been able to twist. So from there, from the folded part, there's another part, that's a white and red pattern, which is the tartan. So as I said about integration, so what I did over here was, how do I integrate myself within a culture that I find myself? And living in Sunderland, which is closer to Scotland, and tartan fabric is well known in regards to England or United Kingdom. I decided to make a fabric which is closer to to what I'm doing. So I try to integrate myself within the culture. As it said, when you go to Rome, you do what the Romans do. So I try to integrate myself within the culture. So with this piece, it talks about how I was able to integrate myself within the English culture. And within the piece, also, there's a kind of a black spotty gray embedded in the print. In the design, which is the university credit, the University of Sunderland. So the idea is about the knowledge that I'm tapping from the University of Sunderland in producing the work of art. So with this work, every pattern, every meaning, the colors, the patterns, the symbols, they all have meanings in relation to what I was trying to portray. And to note, in the history, in the olden days, the cloth was made for the royals. Yeah. So this work talks about transition 2. And then from there,
I'm just going to interject for 1 minute because we did have a question on the last piece that you kind of briefly touched on, but someone was wondering if the colors themselves hold certain meanings. And if so, could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. The colors hold Yeah, every color that I use in my piece, they all have a meaning. So with the first piece, myself, the red, the yellow, the blue, the white, they all have meaning. So with the blue talks about calmness. Natural, this is how I'm so like that's the kind of naturally I'm very calm. So I was trying to portray my identity within the fabric. And gold talks about the yellow talks about the richness, white talks about victory, like a new victory within a material, because it's like I did so many experiments to reach this stage. I tried to use first what I did was I had to use float sheet. I cut them into strips, printed on them, try to weave them manually, try to weave them using the kiln forming technique. It wasn't great for me. And with time as well, I used stringers from Bullseye. It was great, but I was thinking about timing and cost. I tried to use, and the next one was I used like screen printing with enamel, which was very great. But I wanted that kind of textured woven feeling. So with the colors that with before I make a work, the colors, the patterns, and the symbols, they all have meaning. I put those meaning together to form a piece. Yep. So with the zigzag pattern that you see in this piece, it's talking about life. Life is not a straight line. There's a kind of a twist and turn. But with determination and hard work, you'll be able to achieve what you want. So every pattern that you see has a meaning. Colors has a meaning within the piece. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. So from there, I made this piece, which I call it the rites of passage. I know within every country, every society, every clan, every family, there's a rite of passage. Everything that has a beginning in life has an end. So within the accounts, we believe in rites of passage. And we believe that within that period, within the passage, we have birth, we have puberty, we have adulthood, and then we have death. So within the birth period, we believe that life or birth, when someone is going to give birth, the person is between life and death. So when a lady is able to give birth, is the lady has had victory over death. So during that period, we wear white. So the white symbolizes or stands for victory over death. So with the first piece that I made, it's the black and white. So the black is talking about the black, the person representing the black, and the white represent victory over death. So the first three pieces, talks about birth. So then the next piece, after the white and black, the next piece talks about, after birth, there's naming ceremony where you see people wearing white, gold, like giving reverence, giving thanks to the creator. And that's when the child is being named. Then from there, in England, one thing I realized is, they use colors even for boys and girls. So when a boy, they use blue, and a girl, they use a pink. In Ghana, when a child is beginning to grow, now we all have those kind of colors. So the third piece is about green, talking about growth, the growth within a child, and the piece begin to decline. Meaning that when you begin to grow as a child, there's within the period, there is a period where things that you wish you had, life is not going to give it that way. You need to fight through. So when it comes down, there's a kind of a fold within the piece, and then it begins to go up. So there's a kind of a twist. As I said, anytime you see like a fold within my piece, there's a new phase of life. There's a new phase. So from there, we move on to the puberty, and then we go to puberty is about where a lady or a guy or boy is being taught how to. So with a lady, you are being taught how to look after a man, how to look after a home, how to look after yourself. So that's when a lady has the first time a lady has his menstrual cycle. That's when a lady is being taught how to, and within this period, there are colors that, associate with that period. There's a kind of occasions, celebration along with that. And when it comes to men, that's when they teach our boys, they begin to teach them how to farm, how to look after your wife, how to look after your family. So all those process begins to revolve. And within this period, there's a kind of fabric that we do wear. Likewise, in our own selves, as a kid, your mom begins to choose, what you wear. And when it begins to go, begin to choose the colors of, the dress that you like. And then there is a place where I brought in the tartan fabric as well, talking about myself within the English culture. And then the last stage, which is a three glass, that's the red, a bit of yellow pattern, and talks about that. In Ghana, when someone dies, we wear red and black, But we believe that when you pass the age of 70, the creator or God has given you more age. We believe that the age of 70, that's a grace period. So if you're above 70, like God has given you more. So when you die, we'll wear white and black, as a means of honoring, the period that God has given you, or the age that God has added to your age. Yeah. So this piece talks about the passage of the life within the Ghanian, within that current setting. So I try to use the Kente cloth, the colors, the symbol to represent that period within the rites of passage. And then the next, so this is the puberty. So this is the puberty aspect of it. Yeah. And then from there, oh, sorry, my light. I made, oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. From there, I made this piece. I call it the umbrella, protection. How do you protect yourself within a new culture, within a new environment? So during my second year, I moved from where I used to stay, and I went to stay in a different place where I had a bit of racial abuse and everything. So I asked myself, how do I protect myself within a culture? So this umbrella is talking about how do you protect yourself when you move to a different country? Because I felt like if I was in Ghana, that thing wouldn't have happened. So I made this piece as a means to shield myself within the culture that I find myself. So the umbrella is talking about protection. It's talking about how do I protect myself within a new culture that I find myself. So out of what happened, I sat down to create a piece of work to protect myself within a different culture. Yeah. Then from there, I made this piece where I call it the stole. The stole is about the identity. How do you identify yourself within the community, the place, the country, your location, your workplace? So this work is talking about identity. How do I identify myself within the glass world? The store in Ghana, during my matriculation, during university time, when you enter university, there's a matriculation that we do, and during that period, we have a scarf as a means of ushering you into the academic world. Likewise, in America, within the Black colleges, I know this thing happens as well. And when you finish school, during your graduation, they give you a scarf or a stole which talks about ushering you from the academic world to the cooperative world. So this piece is talking about how I usher myself within the glass world, how I'm trying to identify myself within the glass world. So the patterns, the symbols, and everything. So with this piece, there's a symbol. In Ghana, we call it, in my language, it's called Jinyami. In English, it means except God. Literally, what it means is that, we believe that when this symbol is placed on a work, or those who believe in it means nobody could harm you apart from the creator. So that's the meaning of this piece. So this symbol is attached to this word, meaning no human being or no evil could bring you down. So how do I identify myself with it? So it's a kind of a protection that I've added to the piece. Yeah. Then from there, I made this piece. I call it Fatia Fatankroma. Fatia Fatankroma is a cloth, or it's a Kente cloth that was woven when the first prime minister got married to a lady from Ethiopia called Fatia. So this piece is about politics. So when people were so shocked that, why is that, the president didn't marry anybody from Ghana, but went to Ethiopia to marry a lady. But at a point, they got to understand the reason why, he got married. That was when Dr. Kwame Nkrumah married the lady. So when Nkrumah was overthrown, they tried to change the name from Fatia Fata Nkrumah to, in my language, they say Bakofo Mumai. One person cannot rule a country. But at a point, they changed the name back to Fatia Fata Nkrumah, which this piece is about. It's 40 centimeters high with a length about, I think the length is 240 centimeters. So the height is 60 by 240 centimeters. And with the same thing, I place a symbol on it. So the symbol has become like a tag that normally you see it on my works. Yeah. And then from there, as I said in the beginning, my dream is to become a teacher. I love to teach. So I had the opportunity to, come to America. And then this place is Pittsburgh. I had the opportunity to teach over there. So I met some students. That was my first teaching internationally, where I taught students how to do pattern printing. So the idea was to bring own pattern, and then we develop it, and then we print it out. So that was the first piece. That was my first class that I did in Pittsburgh. And then from there, the next one was I was being invited also to teach at Pilcheck, and that's my year group. And then we also did how to make a fabric. And after that, we did a presentation. We exhibited our works. So there's a small video attached to the presentation, and I'll play it. So yeah, so that's the first piece. That's mine, and then from there, that's my students' work. So some came from textiles background, so many backgrounds. Some came from stained glass. Make your own fabric. Yeah. So from there, I had a chance to do a residency at Pilcheck. So that was me when my journey to Pilcheck, and then at Pilcheck it was so lovely, it was so nice, the weather was so great. And when I went to Pilcheck, I would say it was one of the lovely and great opportunity to be there. I was able to produce a lot of work, experiment with glass, the teacher, the technicians. It was so lovely, so lovely in Pilcheck. And then from there, I made these pieces. So it's like I experiment with the material, how to prolong the firing cycle, how to be able to twist. I tried with new materials in relation to slamping. So I was able to develop so many kind of techniques when I was at Pilcher during my residency. So all these pieces were made at Pilcher. But back in Sunderland, I made this piece. I call it, the first one, I call it my childhood. The bigger one, I call it the adulthood. And the smaller one, I call it the old age. This piece came into my mind during COVID, because we couldn't go to university, everybody was in the house. I was thinking that if someone had prophesied that there was going to be a COVID, nobody would have believed. So I developed sketches, and then when university was resumed, I went to make this piece. So the first piece talks about childhood, childhood. I believe that during our childhood, our parents buy us as a pillow, like as a child, that's where you have a small pillow, you think about it. But when we grow up to become an adult, we buy our own pillow. And I believe that it's during that time, that's where all the creativity, the thinking, and everything begins to develop. And I believe that during that time, that's when, whatever you want to achieve in life, you begin to, okay, this is what I want, this is what I want. And I believe that based on how you plan your adulthood will manifest within your old age. And I believe life is a cycle. So the brain as a kid, you go back to an adult, you develop everything, and based on how you develop yourself, you go back to a small pillow as an old age. So this piece talks about life cycle. And I always said, I always have the symbol, the junior mid symbol in my pieces. Yeah, so that's about this work. The smaller one is about 15 centimeters by 10 centimeters and with a depth of 12 centimeters. But with a bigger pillow, it's about 40 centimeters to about 50 centimeters and a depth about 20. Mostly I deal with centimeters, so I'll be talking more of centimeters. And then from there, I made a piece of work called the Ghana Must Go. I call it Take Me Home series. This piece forms part of my research, at the beginning forms part of my research. The idea is about the story or the context behind this bag is during the 1980s when Nigerians discovered oil. Ghanaians, doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, apprentices, everybody went to Nigeria because they needed people to develop their country because there was a whole lot of money, oil money. And within 2 to 3 years, there was a crash in oil money when America and then Canada started producing oil. And also, guess what? The politicians misused the funds. And for them, there was an election year coming. So the politicians began to blame the immigrant in the country. And then they said, oh, it's because of, people come from outside. That's why the economy is not working and all kinds of stuff. So within a week, they did ask all illegal immigrants to leave. And within that period, there was about 2 million Ghanaians living in Nigeria, and they were being forced to leave Nigeria. So during the process, there was a checked bag, and the Nigerians tagged that bag, Ghana Must Go. So with Ghana Must Go was, what can you put inside? It's like you have lived in the country for so many years where within a period they have asked you to go back. You can't even take anything because everybody's leaving. So the Nigerians brought this bag that they call the Ghana Must Go. So you could just pack few things inside. So this bag talked about the politics that happened within the 1980s when there was a crash in Nigerian economy. So when they were coming, they brought the bag And when they came home, because the bag was so wretched, and not expensive, the poor people during that time used to have this bag. That was where they were keeping, their stuff inside, their clothes and everything. And one thing is the rich people in Ghana took advantage of that. That was when they started storing their valuable stuff in it. So like with a rich person having about, £1,000, or let me say 2,000 or $100 million, or let me say $1 million in this kind of wretched bag, where it's like a laundry bag where you put your dirty stuff in. It's as a means of escape from thieves and armed robbers. So that was what was happening, and the banks took advantage of that. So we used to have savings and loans in Ghana where people have this bag, go to the market women and be collecting money. So that was what they used to do as well. And I became a witness to that because that was 2017 when I was coming back to, when I wanted to come and pursue my PhD. There was a time frame that I needed to meet. So guess what? My dad had to withdraw money where I had to put in the Ghana must go back, move from one town to another town in order to deposit the money into my account because it was during the weekend. And the bank said the money will not reflect. It was on Friday. The money has to reflect on Monday. But I needed the money to start reading on the Friday. So guess what? I had to withdraw the money from the bank, put all the money in that bag, dress in a way that to disguise people, sat in a car and went to a different town, like about 2 hours from where I was to another town to go and deposit the money in my account because where we were living, my bank wasn't there. So I had to go to my own bank and deposit the money there. And then from there, the senior high school in Ghana started using it because in Ghana, the senior secondary schools, like about 80% of the senior secondary school in Ghana are boarding house. So that was then, so the secondary school people started using it. That's where you put your, like when you are going to school, you put your groceries, let me put it that way. Your mom will buy you a can of milk, Milo, Nido, and those kind of stuff. And then the university student also started using it as well, where we normally put our foodstuffs and everything when we're going to the university. Yeah. And guess what? The bag came back to Europe, came back to America. So when Ghanaians were coming back to Europe, traveling to Europe, America, we brought the same bag because it was so light, we could put a whole lot of stuff. So when we are coming, we put our foodstuffs, we could put a lot of in. So it came back. So it's become like a global icon where it came from Asia through Nigeria to Ghana and back to Europe. So officially, when you type Ghana must go, that's what, that's the actual name for the bag. But within this series, I call it Take Me Home, because I've been here for too long. I'm thinking if I'm going back home. So it talks about me, myself, going back home with a bag. And then there's another series that I've made concerning that. So with this piece, I exhibited this piece with Bullseye Project. That was this year, a collect fair where this piece has been bought by a museum in England, and that's Leicester Art Museum through Contemporary Glass Society. So the bigger piece has been bought by them through Bullseye Project. And then I made this piece as well. So when I was in Pilcheck, I had a chance to, that was, yes, in Pilcheck, yeah. I had a chance to talk to, before COVID, I was talking with the Hela Gallery, in New York through one curator, referred me to them. So we had a bit of chance, we chat, we used to talk a lot. So when I went to Pilcheck, I had a chance to talk to them that I wanted to, we had a talking that I wanted to have an exhibition with them where we did. So most of the pieces that I made went to Pilcheck, went to Hella. So This piece that you see over here, I made it, and then I took it to the Hellas to have an exhibition with them as well. So when I came back, that was in January. Yeah, I made January this year. I made these 2 bags, which is also part of the transition, which is also part of the Take Me Home series, But with this bag, the story behind this bag, or the context behind this bag, is I see bag as a container, as a journey, where I believe that, as human beings, we don't put value on bag. But I believe that, the bag contains most of our valuable stuff, our precious that we do have. And an example is, we all have a laptop. It's like we give respect to the laptop, not the bag. But I believe that, without the bag, you can't have your laptop when it's raining outside. The bag is protecting the laptop, but when we get to the house, we just throw the bag away and we are checking to see whether the laptop is okay. Another example is, I believe that the lady's womb is a container, it's a bag that carries a baby. But when the baby is born, we just forget about the lady's womb. The concentration is on the baby. We forget about that. So I was thinking about what that's, we forget about the womb, and then everything is on the baby. But I believe that that kind of importance needs to be placed on the womb, on the bag. So it's a kind of, how do you place culture? So I was trying to equate the value that I place on the culture that I'm coming from, So this piece is talking about that period, as well as, so this piece is like a complex idea. So it also talks about the journey from Ghana to England. When I was coming, I brought a Ghana must go back. When I'm going back, I'll be going with the bag. So it talks about how we travel from one place to the other, where, as I said, we put our valuable stuff inside the bag, but at the end, we just forget about the bag, So I was trying to put importance with the bag, and also the journey within the bag, and also with my culture as well. And I have a short video about, the bag. So with the wheels and everything, the bag could move as well. So there's a short video about the bag.
God made us. He made the magical beings. It's important how you look at yourself and you view yourself. How you look at your brother, how you look at your sister. From the same tribe. It's black love. It's that real love. Wake
So from there, I made this piece. So with my influence, I talk about integration. When I came to England, as I came around October, it was very cold. It was raining. It's like everywhere was like, you wake up in the morning and everything is just white. So, I used to ask my colleagues about, hey, when is summer coming? When am I going to enjoy the sun? So one of my colleagues then said, oh, you just wait. When summer comes, we go to the beach, you enjoy it. Because where the university is just closer to the beach. It's about 4 minutes walk to the beach. Summer came, we went there around 12 p.m. Everything was warm. Around 4 p.m., everything just changed. Even though it was sunny, everything just changed. Everything became cold. The sea breeze and everything was just cold, very, very cold. So I was thinking, wow, coming from a hot climate, believing that summer is going to be warm, just 4 p.m., everything was just changed. So this piece talks about my winter and my summer. The summer is talking about Ghana and my winter is talking about England. So I try to incorporate the two kind of weather or culture into a piece of work. How do you find yourself? So this was the integration of my culture plus the English culture or the English weather. So I try to use the weather in relation to the piece of work. So it's called my winter, and it's a full-size deck chair. Yeah. Then I made some commissions for Sandal Museum. This is a piece of work that I made for Sandal Museum. It's a commission work. The wave form talks about my journey from Ghana to England. And then I made another piece for Manchester Art Gallery, which there's a video attached to this one. So this video is showing about the process that I use when I'm making my pieces. I do love music, so anytime I'm working, I'll be dancing along with my piece as a form of a therapy. So mostly, I do fire everything once, but with this piece, because of so many colors and symbols and everything, I did about 2 fire before I did the slamping process. So from pill check, after my residency. That was this year. I had an exhibition with the Hellas, which I call it What Do You See, which talks about the journeys through the fabric, So every fabric in Ghana. So this piece, I call it my handkerchief, So it talks about during ceremony, sometimes, we give out handkerchiefs as a means of a souvenir, like a present during marriages, during naming ceremonies. So this piece talks about it's a kind of a gift. So when there's a ceremony, so like a wedding ceremony, they give out handkerchief as a kind of a remembrance. So anytime you pick this handkerchief, you remember, oh, I went to this person's program, I went to this person's funeral, I went to this person adoring. So the handkerchief, these are the handkerchiefs that I made. And then this work as well was, in the exhibition that I made. I call Letter to the King. And then these are part of the exhibitions that I had with the Hellas as well. And then recently, I'm having an exhibition with Jane Gallery in UK, and this is part of the pictures as well. And then that's me. So these are some of my museum collection. So the first one is with Sunderland Museum. The second one is with Manchester, which it was a commission work. And this one was through Bullseye Project. And then for Leicester Museum. And this piece over here was through the Hellas. And it can be found in Speed Art Museum in the US as well. And then I would say these are some of the awards that I've received so far. And some of the exhibitions that I've made, and it's also ongoing. Then I would say thank you. So there's a phrase that I see glass as a host upon which I feed as a parasite to bring about my personal and cultural identity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anthony. That was really a wonderful presentation. I'm going to clarify just briefly in terms of your process, because I know a lot of our viewers are used to seeing kiln form glass with designs that are made by cutting pieces of glass and piecing them together. And as you guys saw in his process video, Anthony takes the process of screen printing and adapts it for use with glass. So he's basically taking a mesh screen that has a design on it and putting the glass powders through that screen to create his design, and then fires it. And the precision that he gets in his designs and the patterns is really phenomenal. And it's such beautiful work. And as he mentioned earlier, the colors, the patterns, everything about what he makes has meaning in it. So thank you so much, Anthony, for sharing your journey and your art with us. Does anyone have any questions? Please put them in the chat and I will ask them for the group.
Yeah.
We have a lot of thank yous coming through.
Yep. Thank you.
Can I just thank him for his creativity and amazing designs? It really looks like fabric. I can't get over it.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and stop the recording now so that those that want to just talk openly to Anthony can do so. So thank you again, Anthony. And you can catch this video on the AACG YouTube channel. If you missed any parts of it, you will find it on there. Thanks, everyone.